What is up, heroes? This is Midnight Zero, and welcome back to the NCPL. This is going to be week 7. We are going up against solo coach of the Portland Trailblazikens, I believe. Yeah, he's a really formidable opponent. He's been improving a lot of late, and he has what has been widely considered the most intimidating team for this league in particular. So I'm really looking forward to, /nervous for, / kind of scared for the battle against him. But it should be good. That said, this week has been pretty hectic, and I've been running around doing a lot of stuff, so I haven't had the time to really prepare like a very official, very high production value team builder. So today we're going to kind of run it back to what team builders kind of were before. I'm just going to kind of be looking at the doc, like our league document, to show you the what's it called, the different Pokemon he has. So with that, let's hop into his team. It's not going to be, each Pokemon by each Pokemon, but it'll convey a lot of necessary information. Anyways, here we are. Oops. There's OBS. Gotta love that. But yeah, so the first Pokemon he's got on his team is Mega Venusaur. Now, Mega Venusaur is super bulky. It's really balanced, and it's really difficult to take down. With access to thick fat after Mega Evolves, it's only weak to flying and psychic types. And it's got great mixed bulk, it's got great mixed attacks, it can run Earthquake, it can run, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, offensive is great, reliable recovery with Leech Seed and Synthesis. It's definitely a monster to take down, and it can hit hard really well too. It's a great pivot and a great a great mon to build a team around. And as you can see, I'm going to show you real quick, he's got a lot of threatening mons. The second of which, Magearna proving to be such an incredible mon. I'm arguably considering banning it or voting to ban it for the next season, but it is a monster. It's got decent bulk in of itself, base 115 defense and SPDF with base 80 HP is not bad by any means. It's got access to base 130 special attack with access to Calm Mind and Shift Gear, meaning you can run mixed physical and special sets, you can run dedicated special sets, and you can run relatively slow sets. It also gets access to Trick Room. So this thing has incredible speed control, incredible boosting moves. It's got great move pool with access to Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, Fleur Cannon, which is basically like a Leaf Storm or Draco Meteor, but Fairy type. Gets access to Aura Sphere, Volt Switch. It's got a really good move pool, and its ability, Soul Heart, meaning each time it gets a kill, its special attack goes up one stage. So this thing's a monster, and it's proven to be really difficult to prep for, and Solo has been using it really well, and it's been crucial / essential to many of his wins. Look at this, 10 kills and 0 deaths. That's incredible. And then next up, tier A, pick 3 is going to be Terrakion. Terrakion is often overlooked. It is in Borderline, so it's not actually super prominent in OU right now, but in the League format, it is a threat. It is very much a threat with, Rock, Fighting Stab. Gets access to incredible coverage moves, not coverage moves, great stab moves, great offensive coverage between those two stabs, close combat, Stone Edge, and it also gets X-Scissor, it gets Swords Dance, it gets Earthquake, so it just hits so hard. It hits a decent speed tier in 108, just like Keldeo, and base 129 attack. This thing means business. Also, you have to be wary about knockoff users and Sucker Punch users because Justified will give it a +1 attack boost. It is a very common band user or Sash lead with rocks or a Scarf user. But it's a scary mon. Next up is Crobat. Crobat is, in my opinion, one of the better defoggers in the game. It why is my mouse not clicking? That's strange. But yeah, Crobat is one of the better taunts and defog users in the game. It's really fast, so it can get really fast taunts off, and that's something I highly anticipate. It's got reliable recovery in Roost and so bulk. It can be used for pivoting with U-turn. It can use Super Fang to wear down things. It can use defog to get rid of hazards, even though it's weak to them itself. It can hit hard with Brave Birds and Poison Fang, not Poison Fang. What is it again? Poison Cross Poison? Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it's a pretty threatening mon and a really good support mon, especially for an offensive build, which Solo's team is definitely capable of running. Next up, we have Crocodile, and Crocodile is also a really a mon that I'm pretty familiar with. I used it in the co-op league with Max, and it was a lot of fun to use. It's a great pursuit trapper. It's a great Scarf user. It's a decent defensive mon, and it usually gets setup opportunities. to get like free, really hard hitting knockoffs because of Intimidate. It can be a Scarf Sweeper with Moxie. EQ and knockoff just hit so hard, and to have a really strong knockoff user is just always a huge boost. With access to decent bulk and a solid attack stat, and a speed tier that puts it above most, walls that would want to come in on this thing, and it's also a great Scarf user. So yeah, definitely looking out for this thing. Next up is Melodic, and Melodic is a really good defensive wall, more or less. It gets access to Recover and Haze, and can fire off Scalds and Ice Beams. I think you get some other interesting coverage moves, but that's what majority of them will run. It has really great SPDF and HP. Its defense is a little lacking, but its ability Marvel Scale means that when it is poisoned, burnt, statused, its defense goes up by 1 stage. So it becomes really quite a bit of a wall. It also gets access to Dragon Tail. I know that he's used that in the past too to kind of phase things around. I highly anticipate Milotic as a Suicune counter. Next up, we've got Uxie. Now, Uxie, I like Uxie a lot. It's really defensive. It's got great mixed bulk. It can be used for, setting up. It can be used, for Calm Mind. It can be used to set up screens. It can be used for momentum with U-turn. It can be used to cripple things with T-Wave. It can be used to get up hazards with Stealth Rock. It's a mon that I've actually really come to appreciate since starting the League format. So it's very cool. Very cool indeed. Next up, we've got Typhlosion. Typhlosion is a really hard-hitting mon because of access to Stab Eruption. It's got a decent speed tier. It's really crowded, but it outspeeds a decent amount, and a so-so special attack stat, definitely above average, but it gets access to base 150 Eruption, that is at full health. So imagine slapping a Specs on that, maybe even Sunny Day. It hits hard. It's also potentially a fire immunity, which is pretty cool. It gets access to, I don't think it gets access to Solar Beam though, which is kind of a crippling aspect. So yeah, this thing hits hard, and admittedly, it's one of the things that my team is most weak to. Next up is Aromatisse. This thing, I'm not too big a fan of Aromatisse, to be honest. It's a little too passive for me. It can Calm Mind, it can Wish Pass, it can Heal Bell. It's very much a cleric. That's really all it is. But it's also kind of setup fodder at times, so I'm not too big a fan of it. Next up is Manectric. And Manectric is really cool. It hits a solid speed tier and has decent natural special attack. In addition to Lightning Rod making, an electric immunity, and definitely a threat on the offensive side. It gets access to stuff like Overheat, Flamethrower, Hidden Power obviously, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, making it great for momentum and just hitting hard at the same time. Next up is Miss Magis, and Miss Magis is it's an interesting mon for sure. It's a really annoying mon. It's a heckler. It spreads Will-O-Wisp. It can taunt. It can, Will-O-Wisp and Hex. It gets a decent move pool with access to stuff like Energy Ball even. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw one of Miss Magis or Crobat just for having a fast taunt user for something like this outspeeds all of my mons. It simply outspeeds all of my mons without any like scarves and such. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he brought this to kind of cripple users, cripple physical attackers, or prevent my special attackers from setting up and that sort of thing. Next up is Hitmonchan. Now, Hitmonchan, it's surprisingly good in the League format. It can hit decently hard with stuff like Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch. I think it might even get Bullet Punch, but it also gets Rapid Spin, which is really neat. Iron Fist boosting up its attacks. Its speed tier is so-so, meaning it kind of needs to run Bulk Up to potentially take hits and then heal back with Drain Punch, or run Scarf. But that's kind of so-so. It's one of his only hazard removal forms. He's got Hitmonchan and he's got Crobat, so I highly anticipate one of those two to be there. And then lastly, we've got Regice and Kangaskhan. Regice, it's really bulky. Base 80 HP and then base 100 defense and 200 SPDF. It really tanks hits, even though it has really bad defensive typing. It also on the other hand though, it does get access to some really good special attacking move pool or like coverage moves. So slap, Modest, Life Orb, which is a typical competitive set, and it can hit things most hard while just due to its natural bulk, living a lot of hits, which is pretty neat. And my team is relatively weak to ice, so this wouldn't be too crazy to see. It can run a Rock Polish set, which is scary. And then lastly, we got Kangaskhan, which on its own, not Mega Kangaskhan, is kind of so-so. It gets access to a really strong fake out, really strong sucker punch potentially, really strong, stab return moves, but it doesn't get incredible coverage, so that's kind of its main fault. So looking at his team, what am I most scared for? Easily these first three. Terrakion, Magearna, Mega Venusaur, those are all three really scary. And Typhlosion and Manectric are both really scary. Those are like the biggest threats to me in my opinion. Crobat and Crocodile could be really annoying too, but I feel like I can prep for them relatively well. Regice. Rock Polish Regice could also be pretty scary. So how did I build for this? Let's take a look at the team. So, moving into the team, the first mon I decided to throw in this team was Thunderous T, and the spread that I'm running is, max special attack with almost max speed, basically to outspeed the base 100 mons, basically Typhlosion, and the moveset, Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt smacks everything hard, it 2-hit KOs Magearna with the Magnet, and it 2-hit KOs Terrakion, it OHKOs Crobat, it does a ton to Melodic depending on its spread. It does a lot to Uxie. It literally does so much to everything. And what it doesn't do a lot to, because he doesn't have a lot of resistances, Psychic helps out with. So that's why I have Psychic there. It helps out with the Venusaur a lot. It helps out with easing prediction on potentially, a Crobat. Or the only thing is I'm super weak to Crook as a result, which is, less than ideal. But yeah, the Psychic is primarily there for Venusaur. And, oops, these are just some calcs I was running. But yeah, so a little bit more about the set. I'm running Magnet and Agility and U-Turn. U-Turn because I don't want to give Manectric potentially a Lightning Rod boost, or I don't want to give him momentum with Crocodile if he brings it in on a Volt Switch. And U-Turn will pick up a little bit of chip damage no matter what. It does like 22 to 23% to a typical Crocodile, which is, always helpful chip. So that's pretty cool. And with the Magnet, I won't show leftovers, and most of my attacks, like my Psychic and my U-Turn, won't have any damage boosts to them, so I can bluff Scarf. And if I do hit a Thunderbolt, depending on the rolls, I can bluff Modest Scarf. And I wouldn't be surprised if he thought one of Thunderous T or Garchomp was Scarf, because those are the only things that can outspeed a lot of mons on his team. So I very well might be attempting to bluff Scarf this match, and late game setting up with Agility and just beating things down. Yeah, it like I said, it hits like a truck almost everything. If hazard damage, chip damage, definitely can beat things down. And worst case scenario, punch a hole for other mons. So that's what Thunderous T is gonna be doing. It also makes Magearna a little bit more, careful with potentially going for Thunderbolts. That said, I don't really think he's going to be Thunderbolt, but he might have brought Volt Switch. So I do want to make sure he's not just freely going for Volt Switches, which is why I also have Thunderous T. And yeah, that's about all there is for Thunderous T. Moving on to Garchomp. Garchomp, I decided I wanted Garchomp, but I wasn't sure what set I was going to run until later on. As far as the set goes, again, speed is just to outspeed the base 100s. Everything else goes into attack. And then the rest goes into HP. Maybe I'll make this defense into Spadef actually, because I potentially am taking hits from Typhlosion with this. It's not going to take a lot. It will take a decent amount, and those 8 Spadef EVs probably won't make a huge difference, but they could. And this is one of my only, by nature of resistance, shout out to Sam for letting me know this, only one of my only resistances to Typhlosion. So potential Eruption spam, potential Fire Blast spam, that's scary. So this is one of my only real answers to that. Outside of that, Garchomp puts in so much work on his team. Garchomp hits so much just really hard. With the Soft Sand one, I can, in the same way Thunderous T was bluffing Scarf, I can bluff Scarf with Garchomp with my Dragon Claw and Stone Edge damage. And Earthquake is still going to be doing 38-ish to Mega Venusaur if it's near max defense. So that's still really good damage. We're doing a ton to Magearna, a ton to Terrakion, and we're doing a lot to literally anything that gets hit by Earthquake. And what isn't hit by Earthquake, it takes a lot from Dragon Claw. And the only exception to that is Crobat, which I might need to go for Stone Edge eventually. I might want to lure him into thinking we're Scarf and eventually late game hitting him with a Stone Edge when he's in range. I also think that he might have certain dedicated walls like Uxie or even Crocodile as a switch-in or Melodic. As those switch in, I can SD and hit super hard with an Earthquake. And yeah, that could very easily take out some of his bulkier walls, his answers to something like Garchomp, especially given that a lot of his mons like Magearna and Mega Venusaur don't outspeed Garchomp. And so he would essentially have to try to go hard into Terrakion on a potential Earthquake, or submit to or concede to sacking one of his bigger threats that's slower than Garchomp. And the only things I have to worry about really are Manectric and potentially a Wisp from Mismagius, and Terrakion outspeeding. And Rock Polish Regice. But yeah, Garchomp is the wrecking ball this week. It is going to come in, hopefully with U-turn momentum from either Scizor or Thundurus T, and smack something hard. And yeah, this should be good. Next up, we've got Bronzong. Bronzong is proving to be one of my favorite mons from this draft. It's got a pretty cool set. The EVs, yes, the EVs. Now, the Spadef I have, and the HP and Spadef I have mean I live 3 max special attack timid focus blast from Magearna, for sure, after leftovers. So that means I don't get 2-hit KO'd by +1 focus blast even, and that's the hardest thing he can hit my Bronzong with. He also might be tempted to go for HP Fire, anticipating maybe a Levitate, for the sake of Crocodile. But HP Fire won't do much to me at all because I'm heat proof this week, and I don't really need Levitate because I don't plan on switching this into Crook or having it in on Crook anyways, and I have other ground immunities that Crook needs to be aware of locking itself in Earthquake or something like that. So definitely not going to worry about that too much. I also have other great Earthquake switch-ins in Tangrowth and potentially even Scizor. Now, getting into the rest of the EVs, the attack is there to help out with potential KOs on Magearna, in particular after a couple rock switch-ins. It also helps out a lot with Manectric and Typhlosion, 2-hit KO, picking up important 2-hit KOs on those mons after rocks. The special attack EVs are there to potentially 3-hit KO a relatively bulky, as in like a lot of HP and some Spadef, Venusaur, and it also is important in picking up a 2-hit KO on Crobat after rocks. So that's why those EVs are there. The defense is just kind of help out a little bit. The 4 defense EVs actually make a almost 1% max roll like difference on Terrakion's close combat. So, and I figure I might end up having to take one of those. So yeah, that's it's like a highly efficient EV investment. Outside of that, Stealth Rocks. I also can switch this in on Crobat all day and get up rocks as he tries to defog them away. So I'm not too afraid of that. Toxic is there for everything else. Something like Uxie, something like Melodic, something like Aromatisse, something like Regice, even Toxic eases prediction and does damage that I really like over time. And the only things that don't want to get Toxic are things that are potentially susceptible to either Earthquake or Psychic, as in Poison or Steel types. So I think Bronzong is going to play a really important role this week. I do need to keep it super healthy depending on what threats he brings, though. Also, a really cool Calc. Let's see here. This isn't... I don't have this much Spadef. I think I have like 160. But Typhlosion Specs, after I change this to Heatproof, a Specs Eruption from max special attack. We could even make this modest. We live that, and we're doing over half with Earthquake, so pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff in my opinion, and that might need to play a role in the game. But moving on to the next mod, we've got Tangrowth. We've got Assault Vest Tangrowth, and this is pretty much I needed more pressure off of Bronzong to help out with Magearna in particular. He's got some really hard-hitting special attackers in, you know, Magearna, potentially Mega Venusaur, Typhlosion, Manectric, Melodic, Mismagius, even Regice. But this is really here to help take pressure off of other mons for dealing with Magearna. It has access to Earthquake, which, depending on how many hazards, or how much hazards damage Magearna is taking, could 2-hit KO, potentially 3-hit KO. We take, I believe, 45% from a Flare Cannon from neutral, or maybe that might even be +1, or +1 Flash Cannon or Flare Cannon. Either way, we switch in on Magearna pretty easily and can scare it out with Earthquake. Knockoff is great in general for getting rid of items. Giga Drain is great for recovery on just about anything as well, and Sludge Bomb in particular gets a lot of neutral recovery or neutral damage on things and can potentially get poisons that are really cool. I considered Hidden Power Psychic, but anything that it would hit I wouldn't have Tangrowth in on anyways. Regenerator is helpful for health, of course, and this is also really helpful in case Venusaur has Sleep Powder. So I don't want him going for Sleep Powder just like willy-nilly because I have a grass type that might resist it, you know? And yeah, that's really all there is. I do need to be careful though about knockoffs going in as he goes into Terrakion. Though this is really helpful for Terrakion because it doesn't do like 5 million to me, and I can do a decent amount with Giga Drain afterwards, especially if he close combats, which is the best move he has to hit me. So that's always there. This is also a great switch into Earthquakes from Crook. It's also still got like some decent physical bulk, so it can help out with Kangaskhan if he decides to bring it. Alright, so moving on to Nightwing, our Gligar. Now, this Gligar I was a little unsure about, but I wanted something to help out with Terrakion. Terrakion and the physical attackers. Something like Crobat, something like Terrakion, something like Crocodile, something like Hitmonchan, even though it can run Ice Punch, something like Kangaskhan. This is strictly a physical wall. It can take some physical hits, for sure, and it's still not set up fodder for Magearna. I don't want anything on my team to be set up fodder for Magearna, so that's why it's running Earthquake. Earthquake still does like decent damage to a number of things, but it does get walled by Mega Venusaur and Crobat, which is kind of scary, but again, I have other mons for those mons in particular. Toxic is great for any of his walls and doing damage to anything that's not Crobat or Venusaur or Magearna, for which I have Earthquake. And Defog is there in case I want to keep my Thundurus T relatively healthy, in case he has a particular Scarfer I need to be wary of, or priority he's bringing in Hitmonchan. I don't really want to, it's not like he'll have a lot of priority. Potentially Fake Outs from Kangaskhan. Oops, there's his flag. It's pretty funny, but yeah, Roost for reliable recovery. Ability is Hyper Cutter because I don't want to be intimidated by Crook to get potential more damage off with Earthquakes. And I would normally be Immunity to potentially not be Toxic, but I can't because I have Defog. And that's really all there is for Gligar. And then lastly, we have this Scizor with a pretty interesting EV set as well. Bullet Punch, U-Turn, SD, and Roost proving to be my favorite set. BP is so good. At +2 at 2 KOs Magearna. The attack EVs are so that I Oko a Terrakion after it goes for close combat, after one rock switching, even if it has up to like 30 or 40 HP EVs invested. So that's a thing. The defense is to really help me not get 2 KO'd, or even really get 3. I take like 30, I think I take 40% from Scarf, Max Attack, Jolly, Terrakion's close combat, and Scared Out with Bullet Punch can roost up on that. It is scary if it's banded, it's scary if it's Life Orb, of course, but either way, I scare it out with that Bullet Punch, or potentially KO it if it wants to stay in and get cheeky. U-Turn is there to help get momentum just in general, as I anticipate Crobat wanting to switch on this, potentially even Mega Venusaur switching in on this, potentially Crocodile switching in on this, potentially Melodic switching in on this. I know he's got some great mons to deal offensively, or defensively with Mega Scizor, but I can use them to get momentum with U-Turn and get Garchomp in there and to hit all of those mons really hard. And once they're weakened, they're all relatively weak to U-Turn or Bullet Punch, so I can SD up late game and potentially sweep that way, or at least put a dent in something for Thundurus or Garchomp. And Roost is there for Roost. The Spadef is so that I live an HP Fire from Timid, Max Special Attack, Magearna after Rocks. And the Speed is so that I speed creep a Melodic after, even if it speed creeps by like 8 or 12 EVs. And why is that particular speed creep relevant? I don't want to risk taking a potential HP Fire or a Scald and getting burned from Melodic. And on top of that, if I do SD and he brings in Melodic, I want to get a clean, 40-45% off on the Melodic as I U-turn out. And yeah, that's the Mega Scizor set. What do you guys think of my team? Overall, again, it's kind of scary if he brings just straight up offense. Specs Typhlosion, Banded Terrakion, Calm Mind Magearna. It's gonna be really scary. I'm gonna have to, as always, adapt. I feel like my team is very fair. I feel like my draft in general doesn't have a lot of great matchups, but also doesn't have a lot of really bad matchups. It feels like every week I have a so-so matchup, but it forces me to have to play really well to win. But it always provides me the opportunity to be able to play really well to win. So that's why I like it. And again, when I see Team Builder, I'm going to see what threats he potentially brings, allocate mons, which defensive mon is going to be responsible for taking care of which offensive threat, and when can I get my monsters in to do some damage, how quickly can I get up rocks, etc. It's going to be pretty important, and Solo's a good battler, so I'm looking forward to it. Best of luck to Solo, and I hope you guys are ready for the battle tomorrow. If you are, let me know in the comment section below, but until that battle, this has been Midnight Zero. And this mission is complete.